Okay, we'll call to order the Minturn Council meeting of September 17th, 2025. Roll call, please.
Eric here.
Kate here.
Brian here.
Lynn here.
Dusty here.
Earl here, and Tom is out of town. Next, we have approval of consent agenda. Does anybody want to pull anything?
Carl?
Huh?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay. Now we have the consent agenda.
I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda.
I'll second that.
Motion by Eric, second by Gusty. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Next, we have the regular agenda, and we have one amendment. We are going to take the discussion direction item 12A, and move it up and for special presentations. So we're going to have that, so that we have, because we have people here early, and no need to keep them waiting all this time, but it won't take long. We'll see. Okay, so we have a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
I'll make a motion to approve the regular agenda as amended.
I'll second it.
Motion by Gusty, second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Okay. Now we're going to recess into the Liquor Board Authority for Minturn, and we have the item liquor license for Terry Markey at Shop and Hop.
Okay, normally a renewal is just done, and I apologize, my hearing aids are still adjusting. Normally a renewal is done just as a consent agenda item. However, this one, the Shop and Hop had two issues this year, and I wanted the council to at least be able to speak with the owner and the manager if so need. We are not requesting you to not approve it. We're asking you to approve it, but this is more just an opportunity to be able to do it. They had two issues in March. The state has gone through and set up a new issue where you have to have a cigarette license to sell cigarettes. And it falls on the same thing. You got to be 18 or older, that kind of thing. In March, they were stung by the state. And a guy walked in and bought a pack of cigarettes and left them on the counter and walked out.
Beer.
It's what?
It was actually beer.
Beer. March was beer. And then in July, the liquor, the guy walked in and bought cigarettes, and that's the same thing.
And beer.
And a beer, and same thing happened. So, and I kind of got confused, and the reason I did is because the information I got from the state was one memo on one and nothing on the other. So I was kind of going with what they were saying, and I knew that it happened. I got a phone call and a letter on both of them. A phone call on one, letter on one. But I wanted to go ahead and bring this in and let the council be able to address it. They have been fined and sentenced, whatever you want to call it, from the state. I've spoken with Mike, and he has agreed with me as staff to say there's no issue that we want to deal with because the state has already addressed it for us. And by that I mean they were issued tickets and fines and that kind of thing. They paid them. They've done the penance of paying the fine instead of closing down of the sale of it. In some cases you don't recognize it because they pay the fine and they keep everything open. Other times they just stop selling liquor in some places and go for 5 days and then they start again. But Terry Markham is here and Charlene is here as the manager if you have any questions for them.
Could I just make a short
Yes, that'd be fine, and just stand up to the mic and
Yep.
give your name and
I brought
address.
the letter from the liquor board too, so you can take a copy of it if you want. I'm Terry Markham and I own the Shop and Hop here in Minturn, and I've got one in Gypsum and one in Eagle Dale too. Haven't been here in a while. I've been in business in Colorado for 41 years consecutively. Started in Steamboat. And every once in a while, we get stung. I'm not here making excuses, I'm just gonna tell you what happened. You know, obviously, every once in a while, every few years, we get hit and somebody new usually sells to somebody they shouldn't. And that's what happened here both of these times. In March, we had a guy that had just been with us, maybe not even 30 days. Charlene gives him the speech, you know, we check, I guess we don't say we check everybody, but we do now. Since we've gotten hit twice this year, once in March and once in July. In March, we had an employee named Chris who sold to somebody on a sting. It was beer. And that was a $500 fine in lieu of our license being suspended. So we talked to everybody again, and Chris was here about 30 days, and then he quit. I think the employees actually get fined when they get stung like this, $500. And I don't pay that, you know, I mean, that's on them.
And they know
better.
that.
They know better. And now we're telling everybody, you know, to check everybody. In July, we had a new employee named
Hope.
Hope. And she had the speech too, you know, check everybody, blah, blah, blah. Somebody came in, bought a pack of cigarettes and some beer. So that was two different violations. The cigarette violation was a $250 fine in lieu of our tobacco license being suspended. The beer violation, since it's twice in 1 year, once in March and once in July, I paid an $829 fine in lieu of suspension for a week, but we're still being suspended for 4 days in October, so we can't sell any beer for the 10th through the 13th, I think, and the liquor board brings in signs. And it's happened to me before over the years. Like I said, I've been doing this for 41 years, and you can't be there yourself 24/7, and neither can Charlene. And now we've told them to check everybody, you know. I mean, if Earl walks in there, or me, in our 70s, you know, and you got gray beard, no hair, you're still gonna get checked. So that's the plan anyway, so.
I take that as a compliment of authority.
But anyway, I mean, it's a bad deal, and I apologize, and I wish it hadn't happened, but it did, and they both were trained, and they both knew better, and I don't know if they get busy or they just don't care, but both of these were brand new employees. And, you know, I mean, I'm willing to listen to anything anybody's got to say, any suggestions. I mean, I sure don't know it all, or you always learn, so. Do you have anything you want to say, Charlene? I mean,
No, you've said it all.
no? Charlene's not big on
There is no
speaking.
reason for anybody to not check, as, you know, we can scan their ID. I don't know why they don't, 'cause that's my rule there.
And if you know Charlene, she's a little bit of a hard ass.
I'm
So,
tough.
I've noticed that, yeah.
so it's not like they didn't get told.
No.
But that's what happened, and I wish it hadn't happened, and we're doing our best to make sure it doesn't happen again. And I've been doing this, like I said, for 41 years in this state. And I've been stung here and there. I think I've been suspended once. In all those years, I've never had 2 violations like this in 1 year in one store. So.
Any questions from the board?
I just want, how often does the state do compliance checks?
Several times a year, and I think the county sheriff does them too. I think the sheriff's office does them on their own, and then I think the state does them as well, is that correct?
Yes,
Yeah, and I don't know, I mean, they just kinda,
They
Show
send
up
a
with-
young person in there? What do they?
they'll send somebody in that looks older, but that's no excuse. I mean, we should be scanning their ID. But they will send somebody in that looks quite a bit older. And, you know, you're supposed to check their ID, so there's really no excuse to get caught.
sometimes it'll be like on Friday night at 5 o'clock.
Yeah, it'll be at a busy time
Yeah,
typically.
I mean, there's no excuse for it, which it shouldn't have happened, but it did, so.
How old were the individuals that were involved in this, who were
I've
purchasing?
got a letter from the Department of Revenue right here, I could
The
probably.
people that sold,
No,
oh, well, under 21.
I think like 19
right,
to
but,
20.
They don't normally say that because
They
they
don't.
keep
They
them
won't
under
tell.
wraps.
Well,
They
they'll
won't tell
they'll
us.
tell you when, I've got the letter from the Department of Revenue here, and I think it says in here, and I think the individual was 19 or 20 years old. But they usually look older, but that, you know, I don't
It doesn't
care.
matter. Yeah, there's no excuse for it.
Yeah. So, It's not a fun part of our business. One of several.
Well, it sounds like you haven't been having a whole lot of fun, both of you. Appreciate, Terry, you and Charlene coming in and explaining everything for us, and, sound like you paid your dues, so.
And I also wanted to say that last year and this year, we've reinvested in the store. We put in new triple wall tanks last year and new double wall piping. So we don't ever have another problem like we had before years ago.
Mhm.
And right now, we just put in some new concrete in the parking lot, and we're sealing the asphalt. We're putting in new POS cash registers and touch screens in the pumps in the next couple of weeks, so. We've spent several $100,000 investing in our business in Minturn, and we appreciate the opportunity to do business here, so. Put it back where you got it.
All right,
Thank you.
thank you.
We do need a motion to approve it.
I'll make a motion to approve the annual renewal of the Shop and Hop retail liquor license.
Sorry.
Motion by Gusty, second by, is that Kate? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, next we have a declaration of conflicts of interest. Does anyone on the board at this time have any conflict of interest on any agenda item tonight? Hearing none. Move on to public comment. So at this point of the game, we ask our public if they want to address the board on any issue that is not on the agenda. Now is the time to do it. Okay, do we have anybody up there, Cindy, online?
We do not.
Okay, so with that, we'll move on. Now we have council and committee reports. Eric, got anything? No updates? Okay.
Not really. I guess we can talk about it during Rob's manager report when I wanted to talk about the.
Okay.
I don't have anything.
I don't really have much. We had a High Five Media board meeting on Monday, and we pretty much, the agenda was just a plan for the 40th anniversary party next month. So,
Big party, huh?
yeah. Should be fun.
Okay, cool. I have a couple things. One is the NEPA process. The USFS the Forest Service came out with findings of no significant impact, and so the NEPA has got the Holy Cross Power Line Alternative 4 has been approved. And so Rob is gonna be contacting our representative with the Holy Cross Electric Board and get us working on the plan, what their planning is, get all the details of their process for installing that line, and probably get them in here to present to the board once they're ready. So that is for people that haven't been paying attention. We've, the board has negotiated getting rid of the above-ground power lines through our town for the most part. It goes underground just north of Two Elk Creek and really just out of the woods, really. And that's the last tower in the valley that's gonna happen. And it goes underground. It's gonna be mainly railroad property that it's gonna get buried in. And then it goes all the way to the North Bridge and underneath, and it'll be run underneath the bridge, probably the pedestrian bridge since it's newer. And then over into the Dow Junction property where the Forest Service is. And it'll be underground all the way. So we're pretty happy with it. And so that's where that's at.
And if
yeah,
I could
go
just
ahead.
add to that. So they went with alternative 4, and that they are going to put 3.5 miles of the line underground through Minturn. And on the U.S. Forest Service property, they're going to put 1.5 miles underground. And I think it's going to be above ground. it's 8.4 miles or 8 total. And the rest will be above ground, mostly on US forest ground. And I think also in Eagle Vale, it'll be above ground.
And of course, from Gilman down to just over to Elk Creek.
And I'm not sure, but it sounded like it was going to be buried right at Battle Mountain High School.
Yeah.
Um,
Hopefully so, yeah.
so,
Thank
I
you.
know it'd be awesome to get them in, but I think also it'd be good to get them over with town staff, especially on the, I think, south side of town, going through the cemetery, Little Beach Park, mini mile, bike park area, and the lease lots, just to make sure it doesn't, the alignment doesn't run through something or cause,
Yeah.
whatever. I think eyes on the ground with that are gonna be important,
I agree.
but
Yeah.
awesome.
Then Rob and I, 2 Mondays ago, met with Ryan Glassfell, the superintendent of the White River National Forest, and Leanne Valdez, who's the district ranger. And also we had Jeff Schroll, the county manager, with us at the meeting to discuss the shooting range. The goal of this meeting was to look at 2 alternatives for the shooting range. One is, of course, the real alternative we were after was closing the shooting range. But after an hour of discussion, we were spitballing ideas. What about this? What about this? And all this kind of stuff. And they just said there's Jeff's. We talked about the Boco shooting range, which is in Walcott. But it's in BLM land, and the BLM shut them down when they were looking for sites to relocate. And then also, so after an hour discussion, we were getting nowhere. And then an idea came. So the other tack was, okay, so if we can't, basically Brian said it was going to take years to shut down the shooting range, just because of the politics of it. So then we looked at the temporary solutions to make it safer before next summer. And even then, it was going to be difficult to deal with. But Jeff came up with an idea. He said that their shooting range in Gypsum, they had planned on doing a shooting range, and it was on the border of the Forest Service. And they did what he called a patent. I'm used to patents meaning something else, but on a piece of land that was adjacent to that. And basically they just took control of that Forest Service land so that they could have the big enough parcel to do the shooting range. He said, so y'all might want to consider that. It sounded, Brian thought it could work, but it's basically would be us taking control of the shooting range, and we could even establish. We're still investigating all this, but this is just what we heard at the meeting, and Rob's diving into the details now to see. But it would, if we did a patent on the shooting range, and then we could establish jurisdiction there, even possibly annex it into town, so we have complete control over it.
So how are we allowed to annex Forest Service land into the town?
Evidently, it just, correct me if I'm wrong, it just takes a permit, right? And it was such a simple solution. Now, it doesn't do what we really wanted to do, and that is to move it somewhere else. But it also gives us control of the hours of the shooting range, which
But we
is.
still have to operate it.
We still have to operate it, but Jeff said that they hardly have any. It's not done labor intensive at all. So I mean, they say they hardly.
And
have,
could we close it if there were fire restrictions?
Yes, so, but all I know as far as what the advantage is for us is that we could choose the hours that it was open, and then besides that, we just have to do some work to make it safer than what it is now. So we're kind of at this point where we're waiting to do our research and make sure we're all sure that this is a feasible
And we
solution.
would have to police it too, right?
That's right.
That would mean we would have to police.
Well, the hope is, and we haven't talked to the sheriff yet, but the hope is that the sheriff's department would, since it would be in our jurisdiction, would then be able to police it.
Okay. And that'd be great.
Yeah, so that's what we're working on. We still gotta get community input, so we're a ways away, but I'm hoping to have a solution before next summer. And we'll find that out shortly. And we'll send y'all, the council, some data on what the rules are.
And I assume they have to be open reasonable hours. You can't have it just open between 11 and 1.
I think that needs to be a usable time frame.
Okay.
I mean, we might could do 11 a.m. to 6 or 7 p.m. But, you know, I don't know. That's still to be researched. You know, but the fact we have control of the hours means we can also stop the nighttime crap going on that happens at times. Yeah. So anyway, that's where we're at on that. And once we get the facts, then we want to meet with folks on the south end of town, also the committee members that went through that whole process, Gusty and Terry, and I think the Davises were on it. It was, yeah. And so we want to meet with them and get their input, and then we'll have, hopefully get all the stakeholders involved and have it at our council meeting as soon as we can get it together. Okay, that's all I got. So next we have the manager's report.
Well, the first thing I got for you is to let you know, about 4 weeks ago, we posted the Public Works Director position. We got 27 applicants. We did 12 interviews on the first round, and then we got that down to 3, and we've selected Mike Martinez to be our next Public Works Director. He's been with the town for approximately 13 years, started as part-time, right? Yes. And then became a full-time employee. And in addition to his significant practical knowledge and historical knowledge, I think that Mike demonstrated that he's here for the right reasons. He really cares about the community, he cares about public service, he cares about the quality of the work. And I really appreciate the service that Mike's given to the town, and I have confidence that he is going to be someone that we can count on going forward. So, Mike, if you want to come up, and if you have any questions for Mike, or you want to say anything?
Sure. My name is Michael Martinez, and I've currently been, like Robbie said, here for Public Works for the past 13 years. And I'm just honored and grateful for the opportunity and to receive this position of Public Works Director. And I look forward on working with Town Council, with current staff, and with the community, and furthering our great town. So it's just an honor, so thank you very much.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you. Yeah, we're pretty excited to have you on board, and we haven't had a director of public works in about 23 years, and that lasted for about 2 years, and that was it. So we're excited to have Mike take on the extra responsibilities of director, and he'll be sitting in on planning meetings for any developments and everything, so that he can give input on the requirements of public works and making sure everything meets their specs. So welcome, Mike, again.
Thank you, Mike.
Thank you. Congrats. Does anyone have any questions?
Thank you.
We know you.
Yeah.
So, other than that, we got town engineer Jeff Spinell here. So always, if anybody has any questions about current work that's going on, Jeff's here to speak to that and some other things. So if you have a question, bring it up. One of the things I wanted to highlight for you is that the sidewalk extension project at the south end of town, we're waiting on Excel. So if you've noticed that work has kind of stopped, it's because we have to relocate a gas line. It has to move 5 feet from the storm sewer, if I'm correct, storm drainage line. And they have told us at this point that they're not coming back till October 6th. I was going to try to reach out to them, see if there's anything we can do to change that timeline, but that's where we're at right now. Just also an update since the last one, me and Councilor Lynn Feiger, we got to meet with some brokers today. I think that was very productive. One of the people that came in kind of gave us some really interesting insights about their perspective on the Highlands property. So we're gonna wait to hear back from them, and then hopefully we'll have an update for you on that. There is a typo on here. Eric's last name has 2 T's. I caught that. That won't happen again. And then there's some follow-up in here on some questions from the last meeting. So if there's any questions for me.
I did want to just kind of let everybody else know too that we met, Jeff and Rob and I after the last meeting. There was a lot of, there was some discussion around traffic calming and some, worries about the newly paved section, specifically right in front of Minter North, in the town. And I had just reached out to the Crested Butte knowing that they've done a lot of traffic calming work, and they've got a pretty big program going down there. And they wrote back within a day and with a very detailed response with their annual reports attached, and answered the questions pretty well and offered to be of assistance. So I just wanted to give a shout out to Crested Butte because they didn't need to do that. They don't know me, and they took the time to write back, which was cool, just from one small mountain town to another. So.
Nice. Alrighty.
It's nice to think we'd be in the same category as
Crested. Yeah, and I was looking to their website. There's hundreds of employees on their website. But hey.
So next we have the budget schedule. What about the Jeff's report here?
Oh, on this, the crosswalks.
Crosswalk, yeah.
Do you want to just kind of provide a brief overview of your findings on the crosswalk art that you sent?
I did some review of first with CDOT and the Federal Highway Administration, and basically it's forbidden from them. The only thing they recognize are the traditional crossbars or 2 white stripes. There are some different patterns of the crossbars, but they specifically say that the only colors that would be approved in the highway for crosswalks would be like brown brick or something on that order, but no bright colors at all. So that was that. And then I found a Bloomberg publication, actually a couple of them, that where they have invested in various cities around the country in doing street art. And the studies that the Federal Highway Administration did show that there was no real benefit in crosswalks anyway. They said people, when there's a crosswalk, and I've heard this particularly with the flashing lights like we're putting up at Cemetery Road, that pedestrians will hit the button and go without looking for cars. And that was their big concern about crosswalks, particularly mid-block crosswalks. But what Bloomberg's people found was that the bright ones helped. So obviously the council can make a decision what they want to do on their streets, but I don't see that CDOT is ever going to approve us doing any kind of colored crosswalks on Main Street.
Yeah, the Bloomberg study found significantly improved safety performance in areas where the art was installed. It's probably more effort than we want to expend, but sometimes I think it would be nice if we could appeal CDOT's conclusions sometimes to a higher body.
It is amazing that the only thing they let us do are like the flashing crosswalk. We asked for a million different things, and they said, we're gonna do a flashing crosswalk, but those don't work.
Yeah, I mean, the flashing cross where pedestrians won't look, I mean, their thinking is so odd.
Well, I think we can maybe just make a contact with CDOT with this study and just say, listen, read this, see what you think, and get input from them on that. Just to keep the communication going on it, because it would be nice to be able to do something like this.
And
I'm happy to write a letter to CDOT, send them those publications and see what happens. I do not expect a positive response based on what they sent us, when I did them for Michelle. When we did the suggestions, that was, I mean, frankly,
We asked them
it
for
wasn't just no,
raised-
it was hell no when I sent it to them.
We wanted medians, we wanted raised entrances, we wanted all sorts of different street design things, and they came back and said the only thing we'll allow is a flashing crosswalk.
And, and they're saying they would allow a brick red, colored crosswalk, and against the dark gray, nobody would even see that. I mean, that has to be dangerous.
Well, the white stripes can have glass beads in them to be reflective at night. But I don't know if you can mix beads into the colored paint or not. I didn't do any research, and the Bloomberg publications didn't talk about that.
Maybe just secretly put some LED stuff in there. Sparkle at night. Anyway, never hurts to try, We'll see.
I'll put something together and pass it by Robin before I send it in.
Cool. Okay, next we have, where is Jay? Where did he go?
Just upstairs.
He's upstairs?
Where did we move the special presentation? Is it after Jay or?
It was, did I skip over special presentation?
Or the one
No.
for?
Yes, but 10, where else? We'll be on 10, it's right after the budget schedule.
Gotcha, I'll do it. I'm with you.
So Jay, are you presenting or is Rob?
It's Jay, he's trying to be productive.
Okay.
I'm checking on Jay right now. One second.
There he is.
Did you guys need me?
Budget schedule, Jay.
The only thing that I'm here for is so that you can see we're starting the budget process. Actually, you guys are starting. It started a long time ago. And that gives us what we'll be doing over the next 2-3 months. You can see we've got something to approve it, to accept it on October 1st. There's nothing that we're looking at doing on the second meeting in October. The first meeting of November, we will be doing the public hearing. In the second meeting in November and the first meeting in December, we will be doing the ordinances. If anybody has any questions or would like a more grandiose schedule, I can accommodate.
Oh, I don't think so. It's pretty straightforward. I just thought, I didn't want to miss you there, Jay. I know how you are with budget, so wanted to give you a shot.
Okay, should be fun. I'm excited.
Okay, well, we'll move on then. See you, Jay.
Thank you.
Okay, now we're into the discussion items with Core Impact Accelerator Grant. We have with us Gina McCracken,
Awesome.
former manager of the Climate Collaborative. I can't even
Climate Action Collaborative.
Action Collaborative.
Yeah.
Yeah, there we go.
Thanks for having me. It's really wonderful to see some familiar faces here. My name is Gina McCracken. A lot of you probably formerly know me in my role at Walking Mountains as the Climate Action Collaborative Manager. I am now with the Community Office for Resource Efficiency located up in Basalt. We're an environmental nonprofit not too dissimilar from Walking Mountains and what Walking Mountains does with their energy programs. I'm their Director of Regional Strategies, so I still work very closely with Walking Mountains and the communities in Eagle County, hence why I am here today. So in your packet, you've probably seen the letter of support to participate in the Impact Accelerator Grant Program coming down from the Colorado Energy Office. Before I dive into the specifics of that, I just want to give some brief background to kind of shape how we've gotten to this point. So In 2022, we started the Eagle County Code Cohort process that Minturn participated in, that assisted Minturn along with all other Eagle County communities in updating energy codes to be more sustainable and lower energy bills for newly built construction. So those codes got adopted. After that, we got more funding from the Colorado Energy Office to create the regional net zero roadmap. Minturn also participated in, and I will say proudly was the first to adopt in the region. That set out how we were going to move from the current codes that our communities have to a net zero new construction code by 2030, which is a climate action plan strategy that Minturn has committed to along with the others that have adopted the CAP. After that, we applied for more grant funding from the Energy Office to support communities with implementation and enforcement of energy code, creating resources, workforce trainings, local government building department trainings, etc., just to keep collaboration going and continue to support the building code work. So that all laddered up to where we're at today with this Impact Accelerator grant program. So this is a program from the Energy Office that offers $2 million with some wiggle room. The Energy Office is saying they may be willing to award up to $5 million per applicant. Priority given to cohort applications. And so, as I mentioned, all of that former work happened and we created that regional net zero roadmap. The way that we're framing this grant application is great. We participated in and produced a really awesome plan to achieve net zero new construction codes. We want to use this Impact Accelerated grant program to move to the next set of adoptable codes within our roadmap, so step B of the roadmap. In terms of who is going to be participating in this grant application, it's led by the City of Aspen. CORE, Community Office Resource Efficiency, is leading the grant application development, but the technical lead is the City of Aspen. All communities in Pitkin County are participating and all communities in Eagle County are participating, except for Gypsum, unfortunately. And so this funding would give us about $200,000 to work with for policy development to develop the next suite of energy codes in alignment with when you all would typically be adopting your next set of codes. And then $1.8 million for the region for rebates and incentives for building above code before it's required and helping to support existing building decarbonization. And so the letter of support is just to sign into applying for the grant. It does not necessarily commit you to doing any of this work right now. We are not guaranteed funding, but if we want to have Minturn participate and receive funds and work with this consortium of communities on the next suite of energy codes, these grant funds would really enable us to do that with very, very little resource input from the town of Minturn. So happy to field any questions or provide any clarity on anything that I've shared, and just want to say that Kevin's been an awesome collaborator and staff member and representative of the town, and always enjoy to work with.
Gina, we've been looking at solar field over the last 3 or 4 years, and wanted to see would any funds be available for getting consulting, and so that they can give us advice and move forward with the plan, which may take a few years, but maybe not. So, is that something that would be eligible?
For when you say plan, do you mean the regional net zero roadmap?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes. So that $200,000 that I mentioned for policy support is going to be used to hire consultants, code experts, and engineers to help us develop the next suite of codes, answer community questions, make sure that what comes out of this are custom code packages designed for each community to meet their unique circumstances. So while we want to strive for consistency across the region, we know that that's a huge benefit. We also recognize communities have their own code needs. So short answer, yes, we would definitely be hiring consultants to help develop the policies that would be presented for this town council to adopt.
Okay.
Where does the Colorado Energy Office funding for the program come from?
Federal government, yeah, which I know is a little bit of a mess right now, but they do not, in every conversation that we've had, it does not seem that they are too concerned about the funding for this program. I understand that the Attorney General at the state level has been active in litigating against any threats to contracts that have been signed with the federal government in the state. So we've been told that tightened timeframes on this grant are beneficial because they want to spend down the dollars before more threats can come. So we will keep that in mind, but no foreseen threats as of right now on behalf of this funding continuing to be available. And one more important thing to mention is this grant allows for up to 3 years of work under the one grant. And so this isn't something that we'd be, bringing back codes within the next year for Minturn to adopt. This would be roughly a 3-year project timeframe with code adoptions to be supported in the 2027-2028 timeframe.
Cool, sounds exciting. So,
Riveting stuff.
questions?
Should we have you stick around and comment on what item is it later, our code update for the wood burning fireplace impact?
Oh.
Yeah,
Anyway.
that's we are allowing wood burning stoves coming in now, but they're so efficient.
Yeah, well, the new masonry heaters and wood burning stoves, to my understanding, have gotten to a point where they're a lot less polluting than their former versions.
Yeah. Cool.
Awesome. Well, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Gina. Thank you for coming out this way.
Awesome.
She's in Pitkin County now.
I still live in Eagle County. I want to make that clarification.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I still live in the town of Eagle, but I commute up to Basalt a couple times a week.
Okay. Well,
And Kevin, as for next steps, what do we think is expected to see?
Right, I think the next steps are, that letter, we'll get that, have the council will approve that letter and do signage on that. We'll get that over to Core Impact and we'll work on that. And then we really need to sit down at staff level and identify some projects, some retrofits, some older buildings maybe get retrofitted for energy efficiencies, identify some more projects in town, some of this new construction that find some ways to spend these dollars appropriately and make it equitable for all. So that's kind of where we're at, our next steps for that. So that's kind of what we're looking at.
okay. So I think we'll get the letter figured out and come up with a resolution shortly.
Awesome.
Okay.
Thank you both.
Yeah, thank you very much for your time.
Okay, now we're off to business items. Ordinance number 9, series 2025. This is the second reading. An ordinance amending chapter 7, article 8 regarding air quality. That's section 7A 830, solid fuel burning devices to allow for EPA rated wood burning devices in new construction. Who's got this? Hello, Scott.
Good evening. Can you guys hear me?
Yep, just fine.
All right. Mr. Mayor, thank you. As you said, this is second reading. And from my notes, there weren't any recommended changes, although I had said that I was going to make a small change to our existing definition of solid fuel burning device. So within our existing definition of what these devices are, it includes things like wood and pulp, but it also includes coal. So I think in 2025, a individual home heating device probably shouldn't be burning coal. So I've just included that with strike through font in this version of the second reading for the ordinance. And that's it.
So is this just for new construction only? It's in the...
So what this does is amend the existing rules for the town to allow for phase 3 EPA rated wood burning devices in new construction, as well as replacing older non-EPA rated wood burning devices.
Would it permit the installation of a rated wood burning device where there wasn't any solid fuel device before, like a remodel?
I'm sorry, could you repeat that? Councilman Feiger?
Could you use appropriate solid fuel device in a remodel where there wasn't any fireplace unit previously. Or only electric.
Yes. As long as it's rated and according to the state of Colorado, clean energy, or excuse me, clean air. I forget what the division is. It's chapter or rule regulation 4 is what we're trying to match up with. State of Colorado, regulation number 4 under the Air Quality Control Commission. So we're trying to match state regulations for clean air quality and their requirements for a certain type of wood burning device. The technology's come quite a long ways since the town has last updated this section of its code. So this would allow for those types of kind of clean burning, EPA rated and state approved devices.
Okay, any other questions for Scott? All right, do we have a motion? Oh, public comment, sorry. We're opening up for public comment on this issue. Does anybody have anything they want to say? I bet you do.
Anything you want to say?
Okay. Cindy, is there anybody out there online?
No one with their hand raised.
Okay. So we'll close public hearing. And we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance number 9, series 2025. An ordinance of the town of Minturn amending chapter 7, article 8 of the Minturn Municipal Code to allow for installation of phase 2 and 3 certified wood burning devices in compliance with Colorado Department of Public Health Air Quality Control Commission regulation number 4. And this is the second reading.
And I'll second the motion.
All righty, we have a motion by Gusty, second by Lynn. Roll call, please.
Eric, aye.
Kate,
Brian, aye.
Then
Gusty, aye.
And Earl, aye. There you go. That's ordinance number 9 done. Next, we have ordinance 10, series 2025, second reading. An ordinance amending chapter 19, article 5 to add the Secretary of Interior's design guidelines as a review standard.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So as you said, this is second reading. Nothing changed between first and second reading. I did want to make a point of note that we did receive a question at public comment at first reading asking if the town were to lose its CLG status, if individual property owners can still apply for tax credits or grants for the current historically designated properties. When staff reached out to Dr. Lindsay Flowline at the state, she responded that tax credits are only available to locally designated properties in CLGs and properties on the state or national registers, so they would not be available. And then grant funding however, grant funding is available for any program. Sorry, I'm getting lost in my words. State Historical Fund grant funding has designated properties in any local government that has a program for landmarking are eligible. That was a very word jumble. I hope I was coherent. I probably wasn't. So tax credits, no. Grant funding, yes. That's the takeaway. So that's the answer to that question. Otherwise, there's nothing changed between first and second reading.
Okay. Any more questions from Madison? Okay. We'll open this up for public hearing. Do we have any citizens that would like to address the board on the changes to ordinance number 10? Anybody out there, Cynthia?
Negative.
Okay, we'll close public hearing. Do we have a motion?
I'll move the town approve ordinance number 10, series 2025, amending chapter 19, article 5 to the Minturn Municipal Code, adding Secretary of Interior's design guidelines as a review standard.
Second.
Okay, motion by Lynn, second by Kate. Roll call, please.
Eric, aye.
Brian, aye.
Then
Trustee, aye.
And Earl, aye. Okay, next item is Resolution 38, Series 2025, a resolution supporting Eagle River Water and Sanitation District ballot measure on general obligation bond for regional wastewater facility upgrades.
This is a resolution template that was provided by Eagle River Water Sand. It doesn't take a position on the ballot measure. I think it just kind of reiterates the significance of what will be before voters and the fiscal impact that that's going to have on our community. I think the materials that you received kind of help provide some guidance on the difference between the fiscal impact for a typical homeowner if the general obligation bond is passed versus if these are carried through the rates. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them, but the council doesn't have to make a decision on this resolution in favor, but I just wanted to make sure you had the opportunity if you wanted to.
Well, with ERWSD's presentation at the last meeting, it would be, I think, a significant impact on cost if we do not vote for this measure.
Yeah, so if you own a $1 million home within the district today, you would see a $112 annual increase in property taxes starting in 2026. If voters approve this general obligation bond, if they do not, the average residential customer would pay approximately $268 per year in addition to their current monthly bill, depending on their home size and the water usage.
So, big savings. So, I would urge our citizens to vote on the ballot issue if they're so inclined. It's important. Any other thoughts on this?
I agree.
yeah, and I agree too. I just want to add, it's such a huge increase. If we don't approve the bond, but my only understanding of why there's price difference is that business and commercial properties would be asked to share a larger percentage of the cost. And I have trouble figuring out why that makes that much difference. But be that as it may, it sounds like the bond makes sense.
And one other thing that helps with the cost is vacant land, because, you know, if they had vacant land, you're gonna be paying taxes on it, but you might not have a water tap on it, so they wouldn't be paying, you know, a water rate when they don't have anything on it, where with doing the bond, it would actually, you know, they'd be paying it on their taxes, so that helps some on it.
But it's hard for me to understand how that we have that much vacant land.
Oh, I know, yeah, it sounds like a lot.
But you're also like they're using $1 million house as the example, so a $10 million house of which there are plenty.
Yeah, you're gonna be paying a
And
whole
you're
lot
paying
more.
10
Whole lot
times.
more. There's there. I think basically there's a lot of communities that are not Minturn, luckily, that have a lot of $10, $20 million houses that will be paying a larger share because their property tax is higher. But you know.
But oh yes, because it's a bond and it's okay.
Yes,
Can
ma'am.
I ask a question?
Sure. Come on up.
Lynn Teach, 253 Pine Street. So, Rob, if I understood correctly, if you have $1 million home, you pay $112 a year. So therefore, if you have a $2 million home, it goes up to $224.
I can't,
Clarify that.
I can't, I don't think that's the case.
Or does it just go and up?
Because the way it's charged right now, everybody pays the same amount regardless of the size of your house.
it's a change in,
It's a mill, right?
Yes.
What's the?
If people don't vote for this and it goes to the market really, and that's gonna be tied to property tax, and then I believe it would make a difference.
So any home $1 million or above would
Or the other way around.
If it doesn't go, if they don't bond it, it goes to a rate structure, so ratepayers, it will just add to your
Who all pay the same.
wastewater bill.
If we do it as a bond and it's a mill levy, then people who have a more expensive property or who don't currently pay water and sanitation charges contribute a lot more. So that's why it comes to less money.
It's not 100% accurate. They could still have an account.
I think the way to kind of, maybe to help understand it, you know, when it's a levy, is, you know, your property taxes are based on all improvements on the property and the value of the land itself. And so for most property owners where it's a single family home, and they talked about this in the presentation, the burden through a levy is a lot lower for most people in the district that are single family homeowners. And where you get this big difference is once you start talking about commercial properties. Like if you're talking about the Walmart in Avon, I mean, that's probably, that land plus the structure is probably $20 million. That's going to be applied the same mill levy rate as a home on this street that maybe is assessed at 1.5 million. So if, I guess to be very honest about it, it's a lot more of a progressive tax structure, because those who are at a higher valuation pay a lot more than those that are at a lower valuation.
By saying what you just said, you answered my question. So it's based on the assessment value.
Yes.
Thank you.
The other thing on that was Mike brought it up too, is if it's on a mill levy, you could write that off on your taxes, you know, and as far as the tax notice, but you can't do that on a rate. So there's a little savings on that.
Okay, any further discussion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 30, series 2025, resolution supporting Eagle River Water Sanitation District ballot measure on general obligation bond for regional wastewater facility upgrades.
And I'll second the motion.
Okay, we have a motion by Eric and a second by Lynn. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Okay, next we have resolution 39, series 2025. This is a resolution approving an IGA with the town of Red Cliff for a temporary employee share.
Interestingly, Manager Melissa Matthews at Red Cliff was having a conversation with Cindy, and then in that conversation, I think it was a week or two ago, she said, hey, I see that you guys are looking for some help with Public Works. We have some excess capacity right now before winter really sets in. Would you guys like some help? And we said, absolutely. We'd appreciate that. And so we put together an IGA. All the members of council, I gave you a copy of the clean version that was approved, but it's not the signed version. That was approved by Red Cliff Council last night. I think they're actually a town. They're a town. They're a statutory town, so it's not a council. It's can't remember the term. Anyway, but this provides the rate structure, so it would be an hourly rate of $35.92, which I thought was a pretty good deal, including benefits and everything. Our current pay rate that we have for our posted positions for public works technicians is $23 to $29.75 an hour. Are there any questions?
I have one. So this, it sounds like we would lose this help as soon as it starts to snow. And it can snow, we can have blizzards in September. And there's a 30-day grace period, so we're good for 30 days. But I'm wondering if we're making it a priority trying to find somebody so we're prepared for the winter.
We are working on expanding the outreach for the position that we have posted, and I'm trying to get it in some more places, including with the state workforce. I think if the council is concerned and wants to be a little bit more proactive, we could look at talking to Red Cliff about just being prepared for help on snow removal if we need it. I think we could also reach out to Avon and Vail. I'm sure they'd be willing to help us if we want to look at that option. But the council can provide direction on that.
I think we should have a plan because we can have heavy snows out of nowhere.
And we still do have, of course, contracted support, but I wouldn't have a problem reaching out and just making sure we're prepared.
Right, so we're definitely looking for operators, and we're working on leads that we can possibly come up with. So we'll keep you in touch and, see how the progress is going. But Red Cliff definitely helps.
Yes.
So, and we appreciate your support.
I think we should let them know too that if, you know, it's the roles reversed, that, you know, we could do that maybe 3-4 years down the road, you know, to help them out if they run into it, cause, you know, they're willing to help us out now. I think we should return the favor if they need it.
Yeah, we've always had a good relationship. The two old towns of Eagle County. Mike, I see you there. Anything you wanna review with us, with this?
The only thing I would note is the town of Red Cliff did have a few small changes, which I've looked at and they're fine. You know, this is an agreement that Red Cliff is essentially providing the employee with all the insurances. We are indemnifying Red Cliff for that party's activities while doing work for Minturn. I think we reached out to Sursa to make sure that was okay. If we haven't, that's something that we should talk to them about. But you know, there are intergovernmental agreements for employee sharing all the time, so this can't be too far outside the scope of what Sursa covers. But otherwise, the agreement looked fine to me.
Thank you, Mike. Any other questions for Mike or Rob? Okay, we have a resolution 39 on the docket.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution number 39, series 2025. A resolution approving an intergovernmental agreement between the town of Minturn and the town of Red Cliff for the purposes of sharing a public works employee.
Second.
Motion by Dusty, second by Kate. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, we have resolution 37, series 2025, a resolution authorizing an agreement with a municipal advisor.
So at the last meeting, we spoke with the council about a draft agreement that had been provided by Northland to provide municipal advisor services. The town had made some red line changes, had not received comments back from Northland, and I noted that there was a need to include more comprehensive compensation information. I would note that that did come back. We got some very few comments back from Northland. It included they struck one paragraph that I had added. They indicated that that I was asking them to provide something called arbitrage services, which I'll be honest, I'm not sure I could even explain to you. But they did indicate that arbitrage services can be contracted from a CPA. Jay indicated that for purposes of prior bond issuances that the town has done, that he has handled that in-house. So I think we'll plan on handling that in-house unless Jay lets us know that it's appropriate to seek CPA services. The other item that they added was, if you will recall, there's kind of two compensation scenarios for this agreement. One is for a public offering and one is for a private placement. The public offering amounts that were in the agreement did not change. They were the same as what they had presented to you when they gave their pitch a few weeks ago. And then they added language for a private placement fee, and that private placement fee was it was $20,000 plus $2.5 per $1,000 of bond amount. And so although that number is capped at 45 grand. So if you assume 13 million of debt financing, if we do a public offering, the municipal advisor would earn 31,500. And if we do a private placement, the municipal advisor would be entitled to 52.5, but because of the cap of 45,000, the amount would be 45,000. I talked with Jim Mann. You may recall Jim has done some financial consulting work for the town in the past. Jim is now the town manager for the town of Silt. I asked Jim if he felt that the fees being quoted by Northland were competitive, and his answer was pretty quickly, yes, they are. So when you think about it, that, for, I don't know exactly how much work Troy will do, but, over the course of 4 to 6 months, he's going to invest a fair amount of time trying to track down the best financing options and guiding the town through how to pursue those, and networking with the right people, and coordinating with the bond council and underwriters, et cetera, et cetera. 32,000 to 45,000 to me doesn't seem completely out of place. I would just note that, the municipal underwriter fees, those are not the only fees that get charged in a debt issuance. There will be underwriters, there will be issuers, there will be a special lawyer we have to hire called bond counsel. They each will take their little chunk, but this is just essentially the amount that it will cost to have somebody guide us to what the best funding option is given Minturn's unique situations. So with that and this minor changes that Northland had recommended, the clean version included in your packet is something I'm comfortable with.
Thank you, Mike. Any more questions for Mike on this?
I mean, my only question is, like, it doesn't seem like, what's the alternative to hiring somebody to do this bond? Like, it doesn't seem like we definitely don't have the expertise in-house to do a bond, I'm guessing.
You have to
You
use
like
a
walk into
bond
a bank,
writer.
you have to use a bond writer,
Yeah.
but what's the fee?
They have a fee too.
Right,
They
like-
as well. What it is.
Yeah.
The key is I think the reason we need Troy is because he can look at the market as it exists in time, and understand some of the pressures here or there, and recommend that this is a better deal for the town rather than this option. And that's, I think, the main reason we want to have.
And he just isn't looking at bonds too, he's also looking at some other options.
Or it could be split between the two types, or whatever. No, I mean, he seems extremely knowledgeable. That was just a question for my knowledge.
I think
option. So awesome. Thanks for looking into that.
I think the way to look at this is it's the difference between hiring like a farmer's insurance broker or an independent broker. The farmer's broker is only going to bring you what Farmers has to offer. The independent broker is going to bring you choices from different sources and maybe find a better option for you. As a municipal advisor, he's a free agent, even though his company does offer debt underwriting services. As he talked about at the previous meeting, he's going to bring back a spreadsheet. He'll investigate a number of different financing options for the town. There will be a spreadsheet with kind of different cost comparisons, and it will allow you to choose, hopefully simply, the best one for Minter.
Yeah, I also talked to Michelle because he had done work for URA as well, and she said that Troy was really good. So they did a great job for him. So with that, I don't reckon Troy's here, is he? In the background somewhere?
He should be online.
I don't see him.
Oh, we didn't make it on, okay.
Okay. Anyway, okay, so let's go ahead and have a motion for resolution 37.
I make a motion to approve resolution 37, series 2025, a resolution of the town council of the town of Minturn authorizing an agreement with Troy Bernickberg of Northland Securities as the town municipal advisor for the purpose of exploring bond financing for the town's new water treatment plant.
I'll second.
Okay. Motion by Gusty, second by Eric. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, he's on board. Get us some numbers. Okay, resolution 41, series 2025, a resolution approving a contract for Little Beach Park improvements.
Let me start. Or maybe you can kind of give some background on, this has kind of been a winding road, so getting where we are.
This would be phase one of the improvements for Little Beach Park. And basically it replaces the entry road from Cemetery Road down to the stage with a wider, well, with a 10-foot wide access road so that a small truck can deliver things to the stage. And the other thing that it does is it replaces a retaining wall. If you've been down there, it's pretty obvious the wooden retaining wall is failing. And so what the design that was done for this is they're big concrete blocks is basically what they are, which will be placed in front of the existing failing retaining wall and just take its place. So
you're not taking down the other, well, that makes sense, yeah.
Pardon me?
You want to just put it in front so you don't have to tear it down?
No, we explored taking down the existing retaining wall, and it got very extensive because what ends up happening is it destabilizes the hill all the way back to the road. So it wasn't truly an option. We've done this before on other projects and it successfully, so I think this is a good way to go.
Does that include a fence on the top extending out above the retaining wall, or is that something that?
It doesn't, because the existing wall doesn't have a fence, but we could certainly add one if that's
I spend a lot of time with the kids down there, especially on like Thursdays, and there's always kids walking along that thing 10, 12 feet up with no thing, and they're coming down from the road, and I'm just like, it lands in a hard surface, and just like one kid's gonna tumble, and so I feel like we should have some sort of fence, like a railing or something on top of it. And maybe we can add that after it's done or something, but.
It could look like a split rail fence or something across the top to just.
Yeah, because you can,
Stop the
it's
kid,
just a little railing.
I think it's gotta be like, no, it's gotta be a railing that they can't climb on, like a, it's a code railing,
Are you thinking something more substantial than that, or?
I don't know that it has to be, I could go online, I was just wondering if that was part of the design. I think it's important for just safety in the area, cause I could take a picture next time I'm down there, but like, the kids, they use it as like a balance beam when they're kind of crawling all over the place down there. There's, 50, 60 kids during these concerts and they're everywhere. And I think something to catch that they couldn't climb up and over at the top. Like I just don't, so once the concrete's there, could we do fence posts in behind it on our own through Public Works or something, design our own fence, or is that something that would have to be done concurrently with the project? I just don't wanna like mess up the integrity of the retaining wall.
I'd like to look into that because we haven't done that before, but I don't know why we couldn't core drill the top of that wall and set some steel posts in it, if that's what you want to do, and put a railing across it.
Like in the block?
In the block
Yeah,
itself.
that would make sense.
Okay, so is it gonna be a straight up wall or is it gonna be tiered?
Yeah.
It's pretty much straight up. It's only 6 feet tall, but you've seen these walls on the highway there. They look like individual sandstone blocks is what they look like. And so to answer your question, there would certainly be, no different than the wood retaining wall. A kid could climb it. So.
Yeah, okay. Is this something that trying to get done this year?
Yes, yeah.
You're saying a kid could climb it still?
I think so, yeah.
And then they just have a longer distance.
Then what, I'm sorry?
If a kid could climb on the extra.
Mm-hmm. Yes, they could climb. I don't think they're gonna,
We don't
Brian
wanna
would
make it
certainly.
more dangerous.
Yeah.
No, I don't think it's any more dangerous. They're just still gonna do it. And I was just thinking the other day, like, oh, well, we do this, but we're taking this whole thing down, so we should, once we're in there working on it all, we should put up a fence. I don't know, you've seen this.
Are we worried about liability?
Yeah, I'm thinking more that what it should be would be that we would core drill the concrete and set posts in the concrete, because behind the wall is loose gravel for drainage,
Yeah.
So I'm not sure how secure a fence would be sitting in that gravel.
Yeah,
We should look at that master plan and go over and like walk that area, just make sure, because there's also like access. I know they're gonna take down the trees and there's some moving stuff around, but I think a good first step is to get that fence up, get someone up top.
That's one of the advantages of this block walls. We don't disturb any of the trees.
Yeah, I've definitely seen kids and dogs and stuff that like come down that hillside thinking it's like an easy way to get to the playground and park, and that's a 6-foot drop.
steep.
Yeah.
That hill is pretty
Oh,
steep.
yeah.
Yeah.
But it's like one bad trip or something and you're
That's
just
true.
tumbling and
They would-
going, so.
Yeah.
So we'll look at what possibilities there are for putting a fence. I think based on what you're telling me, some kind of a fence is gonna probably be more what you're looking for than a railing.
Yeah.
Because a kid could, if they're rolling down the hill, they'll go right through the railing, they'll go under it.
Yeah, I think a fence.
Yeah.
That makes sense.
As the last summer concert we had, I was just happened to be in that area, and I'm looking up, it's like 3 or 4, maybe they were 4 or 5-year-olds or something, just walking up there and doing this on the rocks, and I literally stopped and just was walking underneath them just to make sure.
Just to catch them.
You know, they made it just fine, but,
Yeah, if something's climbable, my 6-year-old will be on it. So I'm a good tester of this. The other question is just in terms of timing, we're gonna have to do some pretty good like community outreach around the closure of the park and just like around it, because if you just go over there and like put up a bunch of tape, people are gonna be like, what's going on? So we should like make some nice little signs over there with QR code to the project info and just stuff like that, so people kind of know what's happening.
Well, the one thing council should be aware of, and we were gonna have Public Works do this, but I'm gonna twist the contractor's arm to do it within their scope. There is playground equipment that has to be removed. The 2 big pieces of wooden playground gear that are closest to the retaining wall are gonna have to come out because they're gonna be in that new roadway.
so.
Just for, I guess maybe some background just for the council, because this was kind of a challenging thing to wrap my head around, because we received an energy mineral impact grant for the park, and it primarily was to address these issues with the maintenance, with the roadway, which was needed for access to the stage area, and the wall, which is in need of replacement. And then there were conversations before I arrived about more and going for GoCo and maybe T-Mobile, but we decided not to move forward on that because I think one of the things that's lacking is like the clear plan for where we want to go with the park long term. And so we had a meeting with GoCo and we told them, hey, like we want to come back in like maybe January, February, after we've had time to go talk with the public about what do we really want to do with the park as far as the playground and investments, because we want to come with a creative plan that actually is shovel ready. And so we kind of have paused that, but we focused on just these key items of the road and the wall. But we do need to kind of get a better game plan for the park as a whole. There is that conceptual plan. The problem that we have with the conceptual plan is it's overly conceptual. And I think the town and the public need a plan that's like, we want to do this here, it costs this. We want to do this here, it costs this. And so Jeff's team actually has you've completed the full survey of the property, which is essential because now we can figure out, well, this is the topography we're dealing with. This is the areas we have to work with, and we can go to the public and say, what would you like to see? And we can make it fit and come up with numbers. So that's a little bit of the background of what's kind of gone on over the last 2 months. And then there's a little bit more to that on the next item of kind of getting some additional funding for doing this work.
Do you mind,
But hopefully that,
like which pieces need to come out, and do we have like a temporary plan, or if we need to like take a lot of this stuff out?
the playground,
Yeah.
I think a decent amount that's close to the current.
It's the two large play structures that are close to the retaining wall. There's a portion of both of them that will be within the road platform for this new access road.
Was Jeff Armistead still gonna keep them over on his property or anything? Nothing, so we have to pretty much landfill them.
They are, the town's insurance inspector came out and looked at those and said they're not they're not safe. They don't meet current safety standards. So
Need to be hauled off.
I don't know who would take them when they don't meet safe.
And Cindy highlighted that we generally close the park in mid-October, so she's thinking that it's only gonna be slightly earlier than what we typically do.
You would close it, but
Yeah.
everyone's down there because there's no other playgrounds in town. So this is it for people with kids. So it's kind of,
So-
when we shut this thing down and we take it all apart, like we're gonna hear about it. We're gonna have, it'll be cute. There'll be classic kindergartners in here asking us what's going on with the playground. So we should have kind of a tent plan and some good communications in place. I'm just looking at Eric and see like.
Well, we do need to make it clear that at least those two structures are gone.
Yeah, and I think that's fine, but if people see like, okay, those are gone, what's the plan to replace them? Oh, we don't have that yet. Okay, well, what? Now we don't have a playground for 2 years while we're looking for money.
Just a wide road.
Now we've got a new road, that's exactly what everyone asked for.
We've done a quick study and we placed a couple of large play structures where the stuff is all coming out. It's not to say that's what the town wants or the public wants, but we just took it from an apartment project. Well, the Eagle Bend Apartments we did a couple years ago when we did the facelift over there. We replaced the playground, and what we did is we just took those two structures and just placed them to see if they would fit. And so we know that two pretty good sized play structures will fit in the remaining space.
Awesome, cool. Yeah, I actually did the same. I talked to my friend who built Hay Meadow, the first phase, and he sent me his costs. And like, I think we might end up looking at that. Like, I don't know if parents in the town are gonna wanna sit around for 3 years with no park for the kids, or do we like just dump a bunch of boulders in there and let them run around? I don't know.
If we just had a conceptual picture that showed that there was going to be new, better play equipment.
We can do that. I mean, we can certainly get pictures of these two play structures and put them, insert them into a map that just says, somehow we need to make sure that people understand it's just a conceptual idea. It's not necessarily what's going to be there.
Let's look at the timing of, let me review with the next item, which is the CPW grant. Let me look at the timing on that. And what I think we could do is we could schedule some outreach with the public in October and just focus on the playground aspect of it and say, let's kind of work through this. Because a lot of the things that we haven't been like advanced, because we're not going to hire like a landscape architect. We were just going to go to the firms. Because usually the firms that do the playgrounds, like they do the whole thing from beginning to end. So I think maybe we can try to get some firms, get connected with them, do some outreach in mid-October, and kind of see like, we don't have a ton of room to work with because of the 30-foot setback, which from the river, which under my understanding,
It's the ordinary high water.
the ordinary high water mark, which under my understanding is, that's a big limiting factor. And I think that's also another discussion item of if we could look at additional flexibility on that for structures that do not, like they're not homes, they don't pose a risk to the floodplain, they're like playgrounds that are anchored. There's just so many variables to this of ending up at like the best possible outcome from the town, but let's try to I'll try to target October. We'll do outreach because I think, I've only been here for a short time, but I would assume that the community is going to want something interesting and not just your prototypical suburban playground. And I just want to make sure that what is the interesting and that we get it. So let's try to start that in October.
I take a lot of pictures of those too. Like I took a picture. I was up at the new Beaver Creek one, the Creekside one, which is like it's awesome. You should go up there and look.
Yeah,
at it.
and most people in the urban environments they do plastic and steel, but there are companies that still do wood. And I saw one that was like a troll, and I was like, yeah, that probably would work for us, or something interesting like that. So, yeah. We'll try to line that up, at least to start the communication in October. I think that is important.
And I think like again, like putting a sign out there.
Okay.
Because people are gonna walk down and they're like, what's going on? Like, just like having something down there that's just like, hey, like this is what we're up to. Like, here's the link to the website. You can pull it up on your phone while your kid's down on the river or something.
What if we can touch base with, the companies that do that? Okay, here's our design, and we could get them to send us some some big, nice big posters or something of equipment parks that they've done, just to give a little bit more food for thought for everybody.
I think Star Playgrounds would be very happy to do that, because when we were talking to Jeff Armistead about salvaging the playground that's there, they actually offered to send somebody up and evaluate the equipment for us. They said they were looking at it on Google Earth and they knew that it wasn't gonna meet safety standards, but they offered to come up and do a real evaluation at no cost, so.
Nice.
Didn't we apply for a grant last year for the, basically the playground equipment, and then we got denied, and I think some of it was because we really weren't shovel ready for it. So now if we actually have plans to show where we're wanting to go, I think we have a better shot at getting, receiving some money that way.
Yeah, Deborah Figueroa, who's the former town manager of Lemon Springs, and she's our grant consultant, we had a meeting, we met with GoCo, and because she thought it would be the best idea, we were just totally honest of like, we're not gonna be shovel ready by your September deadline, but we're still very interested. We just wanna make sure we bring the best possible thing, because those are very competitive grants. So I think setting this up in October, let's get that outreach, let's get some ideas, so that in January, we can go back to GoCo and be like, we really are ready this time. Yeah.
One thing I was a little concerned about is I saw the line item where we're moving out the vault bathroom and everything like that. There's nothing about what's gonna go, where it's gonna be, because by June or July, we're gonna need to have something.
When we started this, the plan was, I don't know, I've not been in those, but I was told they're pretty nasty. And so they said porta-johns would be more satisfactory than that vault privy. And so we included demolishing that vault privy as part of this project, so it would be torn down.
And Cindy can speak to that if she's online, because those have just not been workable for the events, is what are you online, Cindy?
I am, and that is
correct. You can talk about what we were hoping to get, and I think it kind of goes to this thing of we need the full, that's been the challenge with this project, is we've never sat down and really outlined all the things we want to do. We've kind of been piecing it.
Right. So yeah, the vault bathroom was always recommended to be removed, and that's only a single bathroom anyway, so it doesn't really fill our needs. We've always supplemented with portalets every summer, and for both events and the park in general. And so our plan would be to continue with portable bathrooms, but to look for a more upscale version, like something like those nice trailer bathrooms that you've probably seen at nicer events. And we need to investigate cost and things like that. But our hope is to get a nicer looking portable bathroom option for the future. But the vault bathroom has quite honestly been a nightmare since I've been working for the town. And it's a really difficult maintenance upkeep thing, and so that was why it was recommended to get rid of it. And then to go back to a couple other things with regard to the timing and to the concerns about that, our plan was always that we would, and there was some communications that went out not too long ago, that our plan was always to remove the playground this fall, and that our hope is to replace it in the spring, so that we would not be without it for any summer season. Hopefully, we obviously need to still go out to bid for that and get, work on more grant funding and all that kind of thing. But to Rob and Jeff's comments, our plan would be to go out to bid for that in the new year, and to playground companies who will also do design concepts and things like that. And then we can definitely communicate that out to the community. But that is our hope, is that the playground would be removed as part of this current project, but that we will hopefully be able to replace it very quickly in spring or early summer of 2026. At least that's the goal. But I'm happy to do more signage and outreach, and Rob and I can work together on that.
Cool, thank you, Cindy.
Yep.
I assume the council's aware of this, but if we try and put in a public restroom in the park, it's going to require a lift station because the grades don't work to take a sewer line out, and because it would have to go out across the bridge, Cemetery Bridge, into the highway for its connection, and it's uphill.
But crap flows downhill. So if you're making.
This is
putting
uphill.
crap up here.
This is uphill.
Yeah.
That's the problem.
Pump station there.
The river's going downhill. The problem is the ground is going uphill.
Okay, fine. Okay, so, yeah, that's a future thing, for sure, unfortunately.
Yeah.
That's an expensive project. Okay. Any
And
other
then
questions?
one last thing is if weather does close in on us, the plan would be to get the retaining wall built first, prep the road, and then if the asphalt plant's closed before it gets paved, then it would be the first thing in the spring. But it isn't gonna delay the opening of the park, because it's a quick, paving that's gonna be quick, just a couple of days.
Well, they got all winter to get it all figured out, I hope. So, okay. Any further questions? Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 41, series 2025, a resolution accepting the construction bid from 360 Civil for Little Beach Park improvements, phase 1.
Second.
Motion by Jesse, second by Lynn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Next, kind of an interesting subject. Resolution 40, series 2025, a resolution for Little Beach Park, Colorado, whatever, CPW trail grant.
So one of the things we've already been working towards is figuring out how do we improve access to the amphitheater area from the south side of the property. As you know, that road is extremely steep. It's not safe for people, that are in a wheelchair or have any other impairments. And so that's something that we really got to work to address to improve that. And interestingly, we think that this grant can help us maybe do some of that planning and engineering work. And so I was like, well, let's go for it. Because as part of improving an overall trail plan from the bridge, hopefully to someday get it to the bike park, we can run it through the park and address. I think what we came up with in our last meeting with Deborah, grant consultant, and Jeff was 3 parts. There's running a trail from the bridge through the park, which we wanted to do something really interesting and creative with. I can't make any promises about what that would be, but I was hoping that we could do something that's like, I would be cool if we could get away with doing a river restoration project in like a boardwalk type thing, where kids could have a little bit better access for fishing, and try to incorporate something creative with it. We have water quality stations on the Eagle River. We thought about maybe something for kids that's interactive that kind of shows current water temperature, current water level, just something different for the park. And so this grant would kind of give us the opportunity to explore the engineering side of, could we do that? Talk with the public, would they support that? Or maybe they have better ideas about how to improve access to the park, but in an interesting and fun way. So that would be one piece. The second piece is from the amphitheater up to the parking lot area, and Jeff can speak to this, the grade is quite challenging. And running even just like a sidewalk up there is gonna be costly and technical.
It's gonna be nearly impossible. It's gonna be so long and so many switchbacks. Oh, it's gonna have at least 3 switchbacks in it, and it will horribly scar that hillside to do it. So we may wanna brainstorm another idea.
Escalator.
I was thinking an elevator. Yeah. It could end inside of the Martyrs Barn.
So I don't understand, I have some questions. One, I don't understand why the new road isn't giving us ADA access.
The new road we did grade that so that it does meet ADA requirements.
So not that many people enter from the south side, because there's nothing there.
Not that many people need ADA access here from the south side?
I think our problem is the parking is more over on the south side. So people park there and it's just easier to come down that hill.
So it's.
I'd say everybody enters from the south side right now.
I guess what we're trying.
We did incorporate 2 handicap parking places in this new road construction. So, I mean, if you would want to police it or control it, you could restrict, somebody driving down in there and just
Make
park
sure
it,
it's
but,
handicap.
restrict it to handicap. And we did, design the road to have some bollards that would block the road and then could lay down and you could drive over them.
And the other thing is, I think we may get in trouble messing very much with the 30-foot setback there. And one concern I have seen, you have, all we need is one drowning. Especially in early summer when the river is really raging there. And I see little kids, unattended, even toddlers sometimes, right up on the river's edge. And that just has always made me very nervous.
On the first point that you made, the interesting thing is the conceptual plan has always called for a modification of that steep driveway that comes down next to the amphitheater. So it's kind of called for that, and I guess we're trying to figure out how do we do that, because it's not that easy. And then I guess another side note of this whole thing is the barn, the historic barn that we wanted to relocate. When we went out there with Ken Halliday and Woody, the place where we think that the barn is going to make the most sense is kind of, we want to move that driveway that goes up and move it around so that we can kind of expand the amphitheater hopefully and incorporate that structure. So it's trying to figure out how do we accomplish that, and it's just a little bit more challenging. So this funding can help with that. The second point about the river, that was something that it's just my brainstorming, and I'm hoping when we go to the community, like, we can get ideas. But that's why I thought about maybe like a boardwalk type thing or a trail with like fencing, you know what I mean? Like with railing, so that there wouldn't be that risk of people just like falling in the river. Obviously, access to the river will remain unless we're gonna fence off the whole river, but if we would do something like that, we would have like a railing, of course.
I think fence and that might cause a little problem on the 30-foot river setback. That's why we're kind of trying to see if we.
Yeah, we don't know if that would work. We don't know if that's something that's possible, but it's just through this, we could explore what could work.
Are you saying that you have two concerns with the 30-foot setback? One is just the actual compliance with our own guidelines and laws, and the other is you're worried about, so that's like a separate thing? Okay, so I think like the compliance with the ordinance thing, I think a really good resource would be Pete Wadden from the town of Vail, who has gone through, and historically Gore Creek throughout the town of Vail, they've been very aggressive on their setback. Basically, they've had to implement a law and now they're enforcing it. What they are doing is they are focusing access, because they know people want to access the river. And so right now what we have is complete like wild show down there, and everyone can go everywhere and it's a mess. And the idea is by focusing the access to the river,
Fencing most of it, but
fencing most of it to certain access points. So when you walk along Gore Creek and the Eco Trail in Vail right now, you see
Particularly near Ford Park,
Yeah, near Ford
they
Park.
do have improvements, like a trail and a garden in that, near the river.
So there's ones to get down there, but then there's also a lot of work they've done to prevent access to the river and close down former kind of social beaches. So I think that's, you're out, people always want to get to the water. It's a public park, they want to do that. So I think the idea is that we guide them in the most ecologically friendly way to do so.
Yeah, and I can remember doing a Parks and Rec plan a long time ago, and we one of the consultants said, Minturn has a bad relationship with Eagle River because it's like that's in the back door. We don't have anything fronting the river, with the exception of the 100 block, and that's not all there. But turning the attention back to the river and having that as a major feature, bring it to the tourists and so forth.
The Eagle River is a lot more intense and fierce than Gore Creek. And
I don't know about that. Gore Creek is like class 4 or 5.
I'm just thinking, ideally you could fence it off completely when you're having spring runoff and then open it up when the water level gets down.
Then kayakers want to get on and run it.
We've had
We've had,
Well, just toddler level fencing, not, something that adults can't get through.
Yeah, it's real hard on a kayak and over a fence though.
Yeah, fair enough.
We haven't had any.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of challenges here, and I think that's why maybe this grant would be useful for us, is because we can kind of work through it and go, what can we do, what can we not do, and with an engineering type focus instead of just a planning focus of like, we love to do that. I think the great thing about having Jeff is we can go, can we do this, and then we can kind of work through it so that we end up somewhere that's productive. Yeah, because I think that's interesting when you look at Vail and Gore Creek. They've done a lot of improvements. They've done gardens, they've done trails, they've done bridges that would be in if a 30-foot setback. But those kind of improvements are, I guess I would differentiate those from like structures. And so maybe there's something we could work through there if it ends at a net benefit for the community. But obviously, I think we're going to have to do a lot of ground game with the public and with you about what that would look like.
well, as far as the ADA access on the south side, why don't we do something really Minter? Get some old, war cars and put it on an elevator type of mechanic, yeah, exactly, so they get in up there and they carry them down the slope and they get out.
I do know that the sketch plan y'all have seen with it's got a loop in that trail, doesn't work. It still leaves that, at more than double the ADA slope, even with that switchback.
I guess just to illustrate the challenges here too, is when we went out there, me and Jeff and Ken and Woody, we went out there to talk about the barn relocation, and we're looking at that slope in that road. And when it comes to ADA, one of the things that Jeff illustrated to us is you cannot have ADA access be significantly different than the access for everybody else. So that creates some interesting challenges, because you can't just go, well, we'll have a straight stairs here, but then there's a ramp way over here. It's just not compliant. So it's like, how do we figure out how we have access from that side that is accessible for everybody and treats everybody the same, and not spend too much money.
Good luck.
Well, I think that's what this grant's for, is to
Figure
hire
it
an
out.
engineer to figure it out.
Yeah, we're not gonna solve it tonight, that's for sure. So, anyway, back to resolution 40, we have a motion.
I'll make a motion to approve resolution 40, series 2025. A resolution authorizing and supporting a non-motorized trail grant from Colorado Parks and Wildlife.
I'll second it.
Okay, motion by Gusty, second by Lynn, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
I think that's what I think the last.
So, I think, as far as a future agenda item, more longer term, I think maybe we just have a check-in session, maybe once every 2 months, on just what we were talking about.
With the park?
Yeah, with the park, coming, seeing how the progress is going and ideas, you can relay ideas to us, just as a discussion item, just so we
Okay.
figure what's going
So,
on.
in the next manager's report, I'll highlight the follow-up. We'll try to pick a day to do the public and figure out when that's gonna work for us logistically. And then we'll give you an update, and if there's any news on the grant, I don't think it's gonna be that fast.
Yeah.
But hopefully by the 5th, let's see if we can try to get something in before the 15th of October to at least just start talking with the public.
Cool.
And then I think it probably, let me make sure I write this down. I think it would probably also be useful to come back to you all with a time, at least a timeline of like, this is what we're gonna try to do when. So you know what we're.
Any other future meeting items?
Can I bring up one point?
Sure.
Did she put on here? So there will be on October 15th, a consultant GPS will be here to talk with us about Avon and the Avon-Eagle County led, what I assume will end up being a multi-jurisdictional regional housing authority. So they'll be here to just kind of talk with us about how that's going to move forward on the 15th. And here, that'd be a good time to provide any comments that you may have based on what they say. Another interesting thing that I think we're going to have to talk about, unfortunately soon, I wish we had more time, but the Avon, Avon, Gypsum, Eagle, all of us in this boat have to figure out what we're going to submit to the state for a housing action plan as required by state law. There's kind of a little bit of disagreement. I guess we're not sure how we're going to do this. Some jurisdictions are like, yeah, let's look at a regional housing action plan, but then we're still going to have to submit our own action plan. The thing about the action plan is it has to be concrete. Like, it has to say, we're going to do X, and then DOLA has to accept it. And I don't know if I discussed with you how Avon and Patty Lederman have been having a hard time communicating with DOLA about the regional housing needs assessment, and they've had there's been a lot more pushback than we thought about the findings that our consultant on a countywide level gave. I guess the point I'm trying to illustrate is, I don't know if we're going to encounter that same thing with the housing action plans. And I think we're going to have to try to find time in the next 2 months to kind of understand, this is the state law requirement. How do we want to respond? What are we going to be able to kind of coalesce around? And then see where DOLA, how they respond to it. Because some towns, of course, I think Gypsum might be one of them, they're not feeling crazy about this requirement from the state, and I think they're going to also have to work through how they are going to respond. So I just wanted to update you on that and and it's on my mind to kind of come back to you so we can kind of talk through what are we looking at here with this state mandate.
We're gonna spend a bunch of money to double our water capacity so that we can actually have more housing.
Well, there's that. I guess what I'm worried about is just based on the guidance from DOLA and the state of, like, you need to commit to concrete regulatory changes, and they're going to check in on you on 3 years and say, what's the actual progress? And either you're in compliance or you're not in compliance. And so that's a lot.
There's a lot of that, like with our new construction, and say we have 10% AMI. Is that what they're looking for?
I'm glad you brought that up, because one of the reasons we are trying to get everybody on board, at least Avon is part of it would be we'd have our own action plan, right? But Avon is really pushing for the regional so that we can get an exemption from those requirements, because right now you have to be 30 to 60% AMI for rental. And basically what our housing needs assessment said is that's not where our need is. Our need is like 60 to 100% of AMI and higher. We have, middle class income earning groups that do not have access to housing, but we don't have access to Prop 123 dollars because it doesn't fit in DOLA's equation. So providing the support on a regional basis can help us push that argument. And that's, I think, the easier part for us. What I'm worried about is the housing action plan and the commitments that the state is asking us to make on regulatory change that we may not be comfortable with or ready for at this point in time,
And then we still gotta keep in mind, we have a water moratorium, and, probably can't do much until that's actually resolved.
Yeah, there's the water moratorium issue. So for us in particular, I don't know how that's going to affect that. I think another interesting thing, and me and Lynn Teach talked about it yesterday when we had a manager's advisory group, is this plant gets us to a certain SFE, right? But that's not some unlimited pathway. And we have to think carefully about, managing our way up to that point, because we don't want to be in the same situation of.
Yeah, we don't have the plant paid off when we're already having to build a new one to.
Exactly. So I don't think it's even us just being anti-housing or anti-development. I think we just have to think about, this is where we are now, where we might be, but it's like we can't just go up to 1,100, 1,200 SFEs, hit our capacity on a plant that we still have to pay off for another 15 years. So that's I think something that's going to have to be talked about with you and the Planning Commission and the community.
And I think this is important for us to address and talk about. In terms of things for future meetings, I'm also thinking maybe we should have need an executive session October 15th to get legal advice with respect to the Highlands.
Do you want to do the 15th or do you want to do the 1st?
First.
Okay, yeah, because we've gotten responses to your.
October 1st.
Yeah, because we've gotten emails in the last few hours.
We might be ready for legal advice now and clarification.
Mm-hmm. if the council's okay with that. Can we just ask while you're all here, I know we kind of shift around and sometimes we do a 4:30 for executive, but what would you prefer? Do you want to do a shift early or would you rather do it after? What's more convenient? Or maybe that's a hard question.
4:30 is hard for me.
Yeah.
We could try to be brief in the meeting and do after.
Yeah, a lot of it depends how long the meeting is going to be,
Yeah.
you know. If
Okay.
it's a regular length meeting
Yeah, like right now, if we got out, wouldn't be a big deal.
But we've had meetings go to 10 o'clock or later, and then when you have to do it, you're kind of.
On the 15th, that we have Taylor Street repaving, but is that really gonna be a conversation for the 15th?
Well, we're not gonna have it bid out by then.
Yeah.
The design could be done, it's almost done.
But that probably won't be in that length discussion at this point, because we're not gonna be.
No, my thought on Taylor would be that we would bid it over the winter for spring construction, so I'd like to have a month before we bring it back to council.
I'm looking at the 15th, sorry, the first, Bellman Bridge RFQ. I think we'll look at the agenda, and if it's, we can try to keep it light, and then we could do it after, if that works for everybody, the executive session. Yeah, okay. You have anything?
No, I'm thinking after the executive session, we just have to be careful when we place it, that we have the wherewithal to get through the meeting. Like tonight, it's not even 7:30, so.
We'll try to work on the draft agenda sooner, and then just loop with you and say, do you think this works? And
Yeah, because Kate has to come all the way from Summit County after her work, and she can't make it, and it's important for us to have as many people as possible.
yeah, especially on this issue. Okay, thank you.
Okay. Well, I guess there's nothing left.
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second. Motion by Kate, second by Brian, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.